Good evening and welcome to the Pro-Am Formula Racing. This is the Division Sprint Championship. The penultimate round this season takes us to the Baku City Circuit in Azerbaijan. 18 minutes of qualifying and then a 13-lap race to wrap up today's action. I'm Tom Kent in the country box giving you the details for today's events. Do feel free to get involved in the live chat, like and subscribe as well. In terms of what happened last time out in this series, we were racing in Brazil. And Seth won out in the end for Ferrari, which has moved him up to 9th in the standings. Rishi came home second with Aaron third and Fletch able to extend his lead over Ryan in the standings. 16 points is the gap, which means he can clinch the title here. He would need to outscore Ryan by 12 points and outscore Aaron, who's third in the standings. Fletch would need to outscore him by 7. So Havina in the McLaren will be serving a qualiband, so we won't be seeing him out on track. And it's sunshine around the Baku City Circuit, which is lovely to see. I've got one of the Hasses out on track, which is Ventani. Failure to finish last week in Brazil. Not what he wanted. Well, he didn't even take part in Brazil, I should say. So drivers on their outlaps then. Should be seeing plenty of activity on circuit. Now this Baku City Circuit, 6 kilometres long. It's the third longest circuit in the F1 game. Jeddah and Spa are longer. Ventani is coming through. So he comes round onto the pit straight. 13 drivers out on circuit currently. Ventani starts a flying lap now, and it looks like OJM has crashed at turn number 5. His session is over already, so he's not going to be setting a flying lap. There's one of the rebels staying out of the way. That'll be Fletch. Coming through turn 6 and now to the right-hander of 7. Ventani turns the car in, rides the curbs through the castle section, which we expect is going to catch a few out during the course of today, whether it be in qualifying or in the race. We are hoping for a straightforward one, hopefully no safety cars or virtual safety cars. We want a fairly clean and an incident-free race. Plenty of overtaking as well, which is what we want. So Ventani through 18 and 19, and then this small right kink of 20. And he'll be opening the DRS on this 2.2 kilometre pit straight over the line, and it's a 1:40.3, but I would expect that lap time to be coming down at a rate of knots. Here is Aaron in the Red Bull. As Luke goes second with 140.5. Aaron with a 140.7 in the Rebel. Jace goes fastest with 138.8. That's the kind of time we expect pole position to be at. Here is John in the Alfa Romeo. 12th in Brazil last week for him. Not what he wanted. He's currently 12th in the standings overall with 28 points. Swan goes third with 140.5. John goes fifth with 140.7. Vintage on the mediums, fifth with 140.6. That's a fairly decent time for him there. And then we'll go to the Aston Martin of Rishi. Second place in Brazil for him 7 days ago. 140.1, that puts him second behind Jace. There's a Ferrari coming through as well, which will be Raz. I think he may just be starting the flying lap, actually. So next up is the Mercedes of Famsi, 141.9. That's not very quick. Fudge Cakes goes 9th with 141.2. And Fletch will be the next one over the line. And there's one of the Hassers behind him as well. We go on board with Fletch, who could be crowned champion today. First up is qualifying. It's not a very quick time, to be quite honest with you. Only a 1 minute 40.9. So he's lost some time somewhere. Aaron's ducking into the pits. So 11 drivers have posted times so far, with Jace setting the benchmark for everyone else to beat. And John has retired from the session as well by the looks of things. So he won't be going out for another run. And Adds Up is starting a flying lap. We'll just look to see whether there's anyone else on a fast lap. Well, Swan is most certainly not, because he's ducking into the pits. Vintage will be doing the same. So we'll go to Raz next. Raz with only 2 points on the board all season. He has missed a number of rounds to go with that. The DRS is open on the Malaysian's car. It's a 139.7. That's a very decent time there for Raz. P2 it is. And nearly a whole second off the pace to Jace. So Jace's lap time is blistering, it has to be said. So Chromad is on a flying lap. We'll go to Adds Up next. We expect him to be in the realms of the top end of the field. He'll have a clean run to the line as well. There's not anyone out there that can impede him. Seeing where he is now, just gone through turn 15. It's a 1 minute 14.7 by sector 2. Turning as early as possible without clipping the wall. I would expect him to be posting a 1 minute 39 with this lap. Rear wing open on the McLaren. And it's a 1 minute 39.3, and that puts him to the front row for the time being at least half a second off the pace for the McLaren driver. Now, who else is on a fast lap? Well, Sefi's still in the pits. Raz is not on a fast lap. And I think Chama may be on a fast lap. Here he is, look, in the Alpine. Now, we're only aiming for 1 minute 14 by sector 2. Is he around that frame? No, he's not. It's a 1 minute 15.8. So probably leaning more towards either a 1 minute 40 or a 1 minute 41. Rear wing open. It's a 1 minute 40.5, and that puts him in P7. Chromad could do with a good performance here. His best result of the season last week, actually. A 5th place finish in Brazil for him. this lap of his is not going to be the most extravagant. It's 1 minute 40.9, only just into the 1 minute 40s, only 13th fastest for him. Lucas just started the flying lap. Ventani's on a flying lap. Swan is just about to start his next one now. Jace is about to start another lap, as is Rishi. Adsup will be coming into the pits, and one of the Red Bulls will be starting a fast lap now as well. Vintage is also out on circuit in the AlphaTauri. As far as I know, he's the only AlphaTauri representative today. So here's Luke, over a quarter of a second up by Sector 1 from before, taking it cautiously through the castle section. Now, can he get close to round about where Raz is? He may even go in front of Adsup and Raz with this time that he's about to produce. He's over half a second up from before, so he's looking on course to get into the 1 minute 39s with the way he's going about his business here. And Squan is out of the session. He is crashed on the exit of turn number 12. So 6th or lower is where he'll end up by the end of qualifying. Luke goes over the line for Alfa Romeo. It's a 1 minute 40.0 that puts him fourth, so a decent improvement there. And who else is on a fast lap? I think Jace is coming around to complete a fast time here. Here he is, look, 2/10 up by Sector 2 from before. He may even get a toe off the Aston Martin ahead of him. And the Aston Martin ducks into the pit lane. Jace goes over the line. It's a 1 minute 38.6 and nearly 2/10 up from before. So he furthers the gap between himself and Ventani. We'll go to Aaron next, because he's about to improve his time. And it's a 1:39.8, which puts him 5th. And King is going over the line to post his first time on the board, only good enough for 15th fastest, the second slowest time clocked. OJM is not going to be setting a fast lap, neither is Havina. I'm not sure if Sefi will be either. He may decide to wait until the last couple of minutes to venture out. So who else is on a fast lap at the moment? Well, Luke is just going through Sector 2 now. He's not improving his lap. Thumbsy's on an out lap. He's about to begin his latest flying lap now. We'll go to Fletch, who's just going through Sector 2. Nice bit of curb on the exit of 16. He's 12th at the moment, so he needs to find a radical improvement, really. Aaron has crashed out at the castle section, so he goes no further. And neither does Rishi. Fletch over the line, and it's only 10th for him. 10th fastest for the championship leader. And a bit of carnage going on there at the castle section. You can see Aaron has binned it in the Red Bull. Here is Fudge Cakes sliding his way through turn 12. This is how hard he is pushing at the moment. I just want to see if Raz is on a fast lap. He's not, actually. So we'll go back to Fudge Cakes. He's just going through Sector 2 now. And he's over 8/10 up from before. So this is looking good to see him into the low 1 minute 40s. Probably round about where Luke and Rishi are. So Fudge Cakes crosses over the line for 1 minute 40.2 and he goes 8th. So that's a definite improvement there for Fudge Cakes. Fletch down to 11th place now. But he's on another flying lap through Sector 1. He was 400s up from before. Through Sector 2, nearly 2/10 up. So Fletch looking very good for an improvement. Maybe go up a couple of places at the expense of Swan and Jammer. And Thumbsy crosses over the line to improve his lap time. 15th at the moment for him. He's managed to displace King. As Fletch ducks into the pits. I think that's wise because we are running short on time now, so the drivers will be thinking about going for one more run. Chromad is on his outlap right now for Aston Martin. There is Raz in the Ferrari, heading through the kinks of 13 and 14. And now he brakes for 15 in second gear. 4 tenths up from before by the second sector, so he could well displace Adzard, maybe the Ventani if he's lucky. He can find a little bit more time on this 2.2 kilometre pit straight. DRS open on the Ferrari. And it's a 1:39.3, which puts him third. So Raz having another good qualifying session, despite only having 2 points all season. And King crossing over the line in the Alpine. And he improves by half a tenth. He's managed to go back ahead of Femsey with the time he's just clocked. I've got an Alfa Romeo coming through. That's Luke, who's just about to start his final attempt. So who else is on a fast lap right now? Just looking to see. So Raz has just done his fast lap. Luke he's just started his flying lap. Chromad is coming through turn 12. Here's Luke in the Alfa Romeo. We've got less than a minute to go before the checker flag falls. Can Luke improve on his 6th position? Well, Adzok is a bit too far in front, so Aaron is probably the next target for him to move ahead of. He does go ahead of him. There's an improvement of 2 tenths from before. So Luke up to P5. Aaron down to P6. Jace is on an improvement through sector 2, is he? No, he's not. He's half a tenth down. So Jace looking as though he's not going to be improving his lap time. Well, he's most certainly not now because he's backed off. There's Gemma, 10th fastest at the moment, 10th up from through sector 1. And he has slight improvement during the second sector. So this time of his is going to move him in front of Swan. And the checker flag is out now, so those on a flying lap can complete it. And Jamet goes 9th with that time. And Jace has ducked into the pits and retired, that's not a problem. And adds up, 6 tenths up from before through sector 2. Ventani crosses over the line, no improvement from him. Adds up could be improving here though. Vintage is going to cross over the line, 10 fastest for him. Adds up over the line. And he goes to the front row of the grid and misses out on pole by 6 thousandths of a second. That's how close it was. Luke is not on the flying lap, so we'll go to Fletch, who's half a second up from before. So he could finally break into the 1:39s. DRS is open now for him. It's a 1 minute 40.0 and he goes 8th. So the championship leader will start the Azerbaijan Grand Prix from 8th on the grid. Luke is not improving on his time. So at the end of that, it is Jace who's on pole position. But what an effort from Adzop to get himself up there in second place and only 6,000ths of a second shy of pole position. Ventana will start third for Haas. A great effort from him, with Raz in fourth place, a further 10th behind. So the championship contenders, Aaron starts 6th, Fletch 8th, and Kilmore is not even around tonight either, so he's pretty much out of the running for the championship, unless Fletch decides to have a bit of a mare around Baku. 16 points is the gap between Fletch and Ryan. So all Fletch would need to do, really, is to outscore Ryan by 12 points, so a 4th place finish at least would do it. But he would also need to finish in front of Aaron in order for the championship to be clinched here, but more on that later. Jay starts on pole position for Williams, ahead of Adds up alongside. Ventani and Raz line up with each other on the second row. Luke and Aaron are on row 3, Richie and Fletch on the 4th row, with Fudge Cakes and Gemma rounding out the top 10. All of the top 10 will be starting the race on the soft tyres, unless it rains, of course. Vintage and Squan are on the 6th row, with John and Cremad next behind. King and Famsi on row 8. Havina served a qualifying ban, so he didn't set a time. Sefi didn't choose to go out on circuit. OJM crashed out on circuit in the Mercedes. So 19 drivers involved. We've got a 13-lap race coming up shortly. We'll be back very, very soon. So we're underway for the formation lap here in Baku. So the top 10 all started on the softs because they set their fastest qualifying times on that compound. Squan, John, Cremad also started on the softs, as is OJM. The rest are on mediums. So this could be the day where the championship could be clinched. Aaron knows he needs to close in on Fletch to give himself the best possible chance going into Abu Dhabi next weekend for the season finale. Anything can happen around Baku, of course. So Jace looking to pull clear in the Williams and take another victory. He's already got 2 this season. To be fair, he did go into the rounds. He does go into this race 32 or 34 points behind, with what is now 53 left on the table. So should he win today, he could have a realistic shot of the championship come Abu Dhabi. Fletch and Aaron will be watching over their shoulders as well, because they know that Jace is a very, very quick driver, and given that he is a late entry as well, Jace could all of a sudden snatch the title from Fletcher's nose. Well, the drivers are making their way back onto the grid for the start of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix, round 15 of the Division Sprint Championship in Pro-Am Formula Racing. Tom Cairns, your commentator for today. 19 cars on the grid, ready to go. Just waiting for the last few to slot into their grid positions, and then they'll be eagerly waiting for those 5 red lights to appear. 2 races to go, 4 drivers in the running for the championship. Who's going to come away with the spoils here in Baku? The 5 red lights appear in front of the drivers. It's lights out, and away we go. Jace gets off to a very good start, but not as good as Adsuf, who's already alongside. Coming into turn 1, Jace may have the high ground on the exit. He stays in front for now. There's a collision at the back. We'll go to that shortly. But Jace still leads. Adsuf on the inside into turn 2. But Jace stays in front. So Jace leads from the McLaren of Adsuf. Ventani in 3rd position ahead of Luke, who's got in front of Raz in the Ferrari. Then it's Aaron, Rishi, Fudgecakes, Fletch and Swan in the top 10. Bumsy has crashed out in the Mercedes at turn 2. And we've got a safety car. So we already have drama on the first lap. There was a collision at the back as well involving one of the Alpines. I think it was Jammer who was spun round. I don't know who made contact with him. You can see there, I think that's King, who's got no front wing to his car. He will be needed to come into the pits, as will John. JMX has his car avoided damage. It doesn't look like he has. I think he's got damage to the left-hand side there. Look, yeah, so there'll be plenty of it. He goes into the wall, though, does JMX. He needs to slow that car down. And it's just been overtaken by John as well. So, because of his error, John is legally able to go past him. It could even prompt those on the soft compound to come into the pits. Those on the mediums, I would expect to remain out there. And I expect by the time Jace does catch up to the safety car, or whoever the race leader will be, I expect it to be 2 laps under the pace car before green flag racing resumes. And OJM has crashed out at turn... How on earth has he managed to do that there? That looks rather deliberate. That is not a place where you see a car go off by accident. So I wonder if the stewards will be having a word with him about that, maybe requesting footage as to whether he's done that deliberately. I mean, I suppose the saving grace is that we're already under a safety car, but in terms of driving standards, that is still not very good to see. So Lucas caught up to the safety car now. The majority of the field have come into the pits. The only drivers that have not, that are still in the race, are Luke and Vintage. Now, Luke, I'm surprised he didn't come into the pits, to be quite honest with you, unless he wants to keep track position for when the race does get back underway. And Vintage, well, he started the race on the mediums, so he'll be going longer on his first stint anyway. There's King, the only driver going onto the hard compound. So Luke leads behind the safety car, with Vintage second. It's Jace, who's the highest of all those who have pitted, in third. Adsop fourth. It's Ventani, Primetime Raz, Aaron, Rishi, Fudgecakes, Swan and Fletch, who's currently in P11. As it stands, he would not clinch the championship today. So Jace is running in third position, although it feels that's not his genuine position right now because of Luke and Vintage decided to remain out there. I'm just looking to see how many race wins each driver has picked up this season. We had Vengeance earlier on in the season that dominated until he's had to pull out of the championship, unfortunately, which was a massive, massive shame. Well, Fletch picked up a victory in Zandvoort, which is the only victory he's picked up all season. Aaron has not won a race this season. Jace, who came in as a late entry to the championship, he's won 2. So yeah, it's been a fairly close championship all the way through, although Vengeance is the one that's won the most races, but because of his reasons, or whatever reasons it is, I do recall him saying that he had a problem with his thumb or something, or a finger that got either jammed or something like that, that caused a bit of pain and discomfort for when he was racing. He's had to pull out of the championship altogether. He'd have been world champion by now had it not been for that. Well, there is Luke in P1 at the moment. Now Luke, going into this race, has only picked up 20 points. He was another late entry into the championship. He arrived the Austrian Grand Prix, which was round 5. Remember? He managed a second place finish at Spa. That's where his best result came at. So that's like 18 points he picked up there out of the 20s picked up overall during the course of this season. Now Vintage, who has had a fairly better season than Luke has done. Gilly, his name is. He's on 37 points in 8th in the championship overall. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. So Luke will dictate the pace, and he'll go when he's ready to do so. He needs to leave room for the safety car to duck into the pits before he sprints down that long pit straight. So going back to what I was saying about Gilly, he's managed the 5th place finish in Mexico, 7th in China, he's picked up there, 5th in Russia as well, 5th in Italy. In terms of other rounds he's done well at, then those were his best results anyway. But we're back underway in Baku. Luke over the line to start lap 4. With Vintage in 2nd place. There's Jace under threat from Adsup and Ventani, who will need to get by Vintage and Luke as soon as possible. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps of this safety car restart. There is Aaron in 7th place on the road. He needs a good result here to remain in the running for the championship going into the last round in Abu Dhabi next week. The Cycle Rifle Fletch in 11th. And there's Luke ahead of Vintage. Jace in 3rd position for Williams. And Luke runs wide there through 5. That will compromise his line into 6. Vintage stays behind for now. Jace had to slow down there as it adds up, and that could open the door for Ventane to get by, but he can't quite get through this narrow part of the racetrack. So Luke in control of this race at the present moment. He'll be able to go longer with the extra laps we had under the safety car, so he'll have conserved tyre life. He's starting to pull away now, actually, from Vintage, so this is playing into Luke's hands. Although when he does come in for his pit stop, he's going to fall well down the order, so the more he pulls out this gap, the better it'll be for him later on. But he's got to go onto the mediums or the hards later on. There's Jace in 3rd place into the slipstream of Vintage. How much does Vintage fight this one? Not very much. Adds up. Thinking about a move, he goes to the outside, it's turn 1, Vintage doesn't see him. Jace is able to go past into second place. Adsop makes contact with Vintage, who may get back on the inside of Jace into turn 2, but he decides not to. John in the pits for Alfa Romeo for his second front wing replacement of the race. I'm looking at Fletch, who has pulled out from, I think he got a kick of wheel spin on the exit, and Seffi's able to get through. So Fletch losing a position to the Ferrari. So Seffi's through into 11th place. John back out on circuit on another set of soft compound tyres. Oh, Jace, he's next to get a kick of wheel spin, this time on the exit of turn 6. Ventani down the inside of Vintage into turn number 7. He gets through and Adsop takes advantage. That was a very cheeky manoeuvre there from the McLaren, but it worked. Got through very, very nicely. Seffi behind the Haas of Swan through turns 11 and 12. He's eager for another good result. Race winner last week in Brazil, going for 2 wins on the bounce. But he's got a lot of drivers to dispose of before he can even think of making that kind of statistic a reality. Right on board with him. He thinks about a move on Swan. That's very risky to do it from there. And he slots back in behind, so he just needs to be a little bit patient at the moment. Here is Jace. He's into the slipstream, but is he going to have a go into turn 1? He doesn't need to be rushing this, to be honest with you, is Jace. The DRS will be enabled once they cross over the line, so they'll be able to use the DRS on the exit of turn 2. Jace from the new fastest up as well. That'll help him. That's another championship point for him as it stands. And Swan now penalised for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, contact! And that's Luke into the wall and out of the race. So Jace hit the back of him and Ventani's through into the lead, and the second safety car has been deployed. Would you believe it? So Luke, the race leader, got a kick of wheel spin. Jace hits him from behind, and Luke's race has ended in the barrier. Oh, that was such a shame for Luke, who could have been on course for a fantastic result there. But it's just not to be for him. This race goes from bad to worse for the outer... Oh, and Swan's hit the safety car! Well, you couldn't get any more rookie than that. That is such a bad error from Swan. I don't know why he didn't just pull out to the left. He knew the safety car was going to go there. He just ran into the back of him instead of slowing down. He's only got himself to blame for that, so Swan has just made himself a bit of a public enemy there by just running to the back of him. So his Haas teammate Ventani into the lead of this race now, with Jace in P2. Now, will some of the drivers decide to go back onto a set of the soft compound tyres, which is very much possible? Tyre degradation around Baku is not that severe. So, it's going to be such a go. I reckon Jace will come into the pits because he'll have picked up damage to his car. Well, Vintage is ducking into the pits now, which is no surprise because he's yet to stop. He's the last driver yet to pit in this race until now. Fudgecake's also in. Seffi and Hervina also ducking in. Vintage out on his way. So we're on lap 7, the halfway point of this race now. Seffi, Havina and Fudgecake's also rejoining. There's John, who will be very happy to see the safety car back out again, because now he's got a chance of scraping some points from somewhere. So Ventani in the race lead. Ventani, otherwise known as Ven. He finished second in Mexico City and also finished third in Singapore. So could it be the day where he picks up his first victory in the division sprint in the PAFR? It's very much a distinct possibility. There's Fletch in 7th place, Aaron in 5th. Now, if the race was to finish as it is, Jace would pick up 18 points from this, which would move him on to 83. Aaron's 5th place would net him, although I think Jace has got the fast up as well, so in fact, Jace would be on 84. Aaron, with his 5th place, would move on to 88. Ryan would stay on, or Happy Kilmer that is, he remains on 83 because he's not racing today. And Fletch in 7th would move on to 105. So it'd be a four-way battle going into the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Rishi would be mathematically out of the hunt for the title as it stands, unless he can improve his position massively. Now, Fudge Cakes just came into the pits actually for another change of tyres. He's caught back up to the rest of the field now. So the safety car will go in, or hopefully it will go in at the end of this lap. And Ventana won't want to get too close to the safety car. He does still need to remain within 10 car lengths of it. But once the safety car lights are off, he then effectively becomes the safety car, and he can allow the safety car to pull away, back the field up, and go when he's ready to do so. Safety car now in at the end of this lap. We've got 5 laps of racing. Hopefully no more collisions and no more safety cars or virtual safety cars. We want a clean finish to this race. And from what I've been told as well by the host of the lobbies, that someone readied up too early, so there could well be a disqualification coming someone's way. That I do not know of. So Ventani on course for his first victory of the season, and he's on the way. And there's Adds Up behind Jace in the fight for P2. Adds Up to the outside. Jace goes defensive into turn 1, but Adds Up round the outside, and he's through to second place. Very nice move there from the McLaren. Jace now under threat from the Ferrari of Raz. Want to look out for the championship contenders as well, because this is important. Rishi is desperate to keep his slim hopes of the championship alive. He needs to get in front of Aaron here. Doesn't do so at the moment. And also watch out for those on the soft compound. So from Vintage downwards, they could have a say in regards to how this race could finish. So Jace getting a very poor exit on the exit of turn 6, and Raz thinking about a move on the inside, but thought better of it. So the field entered the castle section. And there's Vintage behind Chromad, who's holding him up actually. So Vintage will want to get in front as soon as possible. No DRS for the first 2 laps of the restart, remember. So Vintage will be looking to get a move done here. Does Chromad see him in time? No, he doesn't! That's naughty from Chromad. He should have seen him there. And Vintage is out of the race by the looks of it. Front wing damage. And gone on the AlphaTauri. And I have to say, Chromad did not leave Vintage enough space on the inside. That was clumsy from him. Now is he going to be able to see Sefi in time? And Fudgecake's almost going into the wall there as well. We want to go back to the leaders because Raz is looking to get a move done on Jace. To the outside he goes. Does he get through? He needs to watch Aaron as well. Raz gets run out wide by the Williams. Now he thinks about a move around the outside. But Jace doesn't see him, or he does see him just. That could have been another collision. So Raz through into third place, is he? Not yet. He's done it now there though. And Rishi makes a mistake, and that allows Fletch and Jammer through. So Rishi with a broken nose cone. Fletch through into 7th place. There's Jammer in 6th position, who's made quite a recovery actually. And in sector 1, King is off the racetrack. His front wing's gone, I think, in the Alpine. So it's been another race to forget for him. But here's your top 2 in the race. Ventani and adds up in 1 and 2. Jay's down to 4th place after Buzz getting by him. And Fudge Cakes has crossed into the wall there in the castle section, or has at least had a moment. Sefi gets past Rishi now into 8th. Sefi is flying on these soft compound tyres. Next man ahead of him is Fletch. You want to get to within a second of him for the DRS zone after turn 2. Here's Adzop behind Ventani. 3 laps to go at the end of this one. The DRS will be enabled. DRS is enabled now. And there's Aaron looking to make a move to the outside of the Williams of Jace. This is important for the championship for Aaron. He needs to pass him. And Adsup's through. So Adsup in front now of the Haas. And could that be the decisive moment of this race? And Ventani gets a kick of wheel spin on the exit of turn 3, but recovers it. Aaron through ahead of Jace. So Aaron up to 4th position now. That's another couple of points towards the championship for him. Gemma looking to get through. He makes contact with Jace though at turn 5. Don't want to be doing that. And now Sefi fancies his chances with the Red Bull. Fletch to the inside. Ooh, that was a very risky move there. And Sefi's through. So Fletch, his move on Jammer into turn 7 has backfired. And he's dropped down to 8th place now. And he's going to be vulnerable to Havina behind because he's on the soft compound tyres. And there's going to be more life left in that. So Adsup beginning to pull away now from Ventani. He's pulled out of DRS territory as well. And Jammer is going to have the DRS behind Jace, who I think is struggling off that front wing damage he picked up when he made contact with Luke on the exit of turn 2 that caused the safety car. Jammer's going to go through most certainly now because he's got the DRS. Jace won't have that luxury. Adsup with a new fastest lap. So that's another point taken away from Jace towards the championship, when it was looking good for him up until the point. And Sefi has now received a time penalty for track limits. So another twist in the race. Does Sefi get in front of Jace into turn 2? Not through there, but he will have the DRS on the exit. But so will Jace. Oh, and that's Fletch in the wall. So Fletch has done exactly the same thing as what Luke did earlier. He's out of the race. And this title battle has taken another twist. So Fletch out on the penultimate lap of this. Well, that opens things up. And that's good news for Jace, and it's good news for Aaron, and good news for Happy Kilmore, who isn't racing today. Fletch is not going to be scoring any points. Aaron, who is now in 4th place, he moves on to 90. Jace, who's in 6th position, he would move only on to 73. So he would still be mathematically in the running, but only just. We're going to most certainly be in for a showdown in Abu Dhabi. Seffi's behind Jace now, so in fact if Seffi was to pass Jace and pull out a 3-second margin on him, Jace will be out of the running for the championship. Havina closing in as well. Seffi with the DRS pulling alongside. He goes through and up to 6th place. Jace has to accept defeat on this occasion. Oh, he nearly cut the wall there into turn 1, and Havina's going to be right on his tail coming out of turn 2. Now does he go for it into turn 3? Fudgecakes gets in front of Chromad for the final point. Havina down the inside of Jace. Jace should have seen him there. I think Havina did have the right to go to the inside. Jace should have left him more room. So Jace down to 8th place. And now John fancies a go and getting past the Williams. So Jace's race has gone from bad to worse. We are now on the final lap with Adsup on course for victory. It'll be his first of the season as well. And that'll move Adam on to 75 points, which was remarkably still keep him in contention for the championship, going for the last round. So he didn't think he would be, but it is only slim. But it's coming through the last sequence of corners. Adds up in the McLaren from 2nd place on the grid, or 3rd place on the grid I should say. He was 2nd on the grid, I do take my word back. But he's coming down this long pit straight to take victory in Baku. Adds up, wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. An excellent job from him today. Vente coming through to finish in 2nd. That's his 3rd podium of the season. Raz on the podium for Ferrari. That's very well deserved, very well driven from him. Jammer just getting in front of Aaron, would you believe it? So Aaron losing a couple of points towards the championship. Havina 6th, John 7th, Seffi down to 8th place, Fudgecakes 9th, Chromad 10th, and Jace down to 11th with a broken front wing. So Jace, after all that, although he got the point for pole earlier on, is not going to score points in this race. Vintage will be home at a disappointing 12th. He'll be furious with Chromad's antics there at turn 14. Rishi, with a broken front wing, will be 13th. And Wayne, the last of the finishers, or King I should say, the last of the finishers, in 14th position. But there's your race winner. Adds up in the McLaren here in Baku. We've got a showdown in Abu Dhabi. And what a breathtaking championship finale it's going to be, with 4 drivers in the running who could be crowned champion in 7 days' time. The driver's now out onto the podium. Adds up your race winner. You'll be very, very pleased with that. As will Ventani with his 2nd place and Raz in 3rd. So here's your final race result, with Adds up the race winner ahead of Ventani in 2nd, Raz 3rd, Jammer in a fine 4th place, Aaron 5th. He'll be disappointed with that, to be quite honest with you. Havina 6th, John 7th, Seffi 8th after the penalty applied, Fudgecakes 9th, and Chromad taking the final point in 10th. Jace in a very disappointing 11th place. He is now out of the running for the championship. Vintage 12th, Rishi 13th, King 14th, Fletch classified in 15th place, even though he didn't make it to the checker flag. Luke, Squan, OJMX and Famsi did not make it to the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So with the championship as it is, Fletch goes into the last round as favourite despite not finishing here. 99 points for him. Aaron will be second. He's on 88. Ryan in third with 83. And Adam, with that victory and fastest lap. Oh no, he doesn't get the fastest lap. Rishi's got that. So adds up, gets only 25 points. He's now 25 off Fletch going into the last round with 27 left on the table. So 4 drivers in the running for the championship going into the last round in Abu Dhabi. So let's have a word with some of our drivers at the end of that race. Just do bear with us one moment and we'll speak to them after what's been a breathtaking Grand Prix with so much that's happened, and we want to hear from them. So after what has been an unbelievable race with so much action out there, we want to speak to our drivers in what's been a chaotic one. Let's begin speaking to one of our championship contenders, Aaron, who came home in 5th place for Red Bull. Lose the position there to Jammer, that's like another couple of points, but you do have a shot of it going into Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And, there was a couple of safety cars there. There was all sorts of mayhem going on in front. And I think it was just a matter of survival of the fittest. Yeah. It's brilliant to see you still in the running for the championship with 4 drivers in there. So it's going to make for an entertaining finale in Abu Dhabi. So thank you very much for speaking to us, Aaron. We'll speak to Havina next, who served a quali ban at the beginning today, but that didn't put him off in finishing in a fine 6th place. How was that for you? We're struggling to hear from Havina at the moment. We'll come back to him in a moment. We'll speak to Rishi next, who was running in the points for a lot of that one. Still mathematically in the hunt going into today's race, but a bit of contact with someone, I think, after the first or second safety car period, put paid to any points being scored today. Okay. So, yeah, I think we were starting to hear that. But, it was another brilliant race as well. 15 rounds. It's coming down to the last race with 4 drivers in the running for the title. So, yeah, we'll speak to Cronmad, actually, who bagged another point despite that collision with Vintage in the closing stages. What exactly happened there? Mm-hmm. So, how have you found the championship? Because you've been in most races throughout the campaign, and in terms of this sort of sprint or 25% race distance event, is that the kind of sort of distance you do when it comes to racing other championships, or maybe like in career mode or something like that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No worries. Well, you got a point out of it anyway, so very well done today, Chromad, on achieving that. We'll speak to Luke, who was leading the race after the first safety car period before kick of wheel spin on the exit of turn 2 and contact from Jace that sent you into the wall. What exactly, how did you see it from your eyes? I mean, onwards and upwards, really, I suppose. And there's one more round to go before the PAFR does take a break for the Christmas period. What are your sort of expectations for Abu Dhabi then? Yeah, I mean, you've had a second place finish earlier in the season in Austria, I believe, um, which has been the highlight for you this season. So perhaps you could do with another one of those kind of results in Abu Dhabi in a week's time. Thank you very much to Luke, and thank you very much to all of those who have taken their time to speak to us today. Well, after all that, we have got a finale on our hands with 4 drivers mathematically still in the hunt going into the final race of the season at Yas Marina. And I really cannot wait for it. And I hope you do tune us in for then. It'll be the same time next week, 9:30 a.m. GMT, or whatever time it is over in Australia. I think it's 11 hours ahead of us, you guys, or 8:30 p.m. I think it is, if you are watching from Australia. So we look forward to that. So do make sure you like and subscribe in case you haven't already done so, or to do it all again for one last time in Abu Dhabi. I'm Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when the PAFR returns.